Hi folks, Will at LL Workshop. So my Armenian Defender, my Defender I bought in Armenia last year, I need to decide whether I want to restore or preserve this vehicle, because we've got a whole summer ahead of us coming now that spring is springing, and I've just insured it. So insuring this vehicle was £550 for the year. I've insured both this one and this Defender 2, and couldn't get them on a multi-car because they're kind of classic-y specialist vehicles, so they're on separate policies. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to using it this summer, and I've got to make a decision about how I'm going to approach the kind of philosophy I really want to take with what to change on this vehicle, what to improve, what to reverse, that kind of stuff. And to me, the you know, restoration versus preservation, it's semantics really, but they kind of encapsulate a kind of a philosophy. Restoration being, I guess, kind of bring it back to it was when it was new as much as possible, and preservation being kind of trying to keep it as it is, keeping all of the little nuances and intricacies that it's got, the modifications that it may have had, that tell the story of the vehicle and the role it had. I bought this vehicle because it's, I put in one of the thumbnails when I originally bought it, 95% original. That was just a guesstimate, but I like the fact that this is incredibly original. It has a lot of parts it had when it came from the factory. It hasn't been buggered around with. Every other Defender I've bought, it's got things put on it from other Defenders. So I like the fact that, things like coolant hoses, just little things like that, little details, and the stickers and the decals, it's not been resprayed, and it's not that damaged really. That's what I really like about the vehicle. And it's in very good condition, not really any corrosion per se. There's rust spots from stone chip damage and that kind of stuff. It's probably also worth talking about a little bit of this vehicle's history, because it's not just an original Defender of a variant that I really, really wanted to buy. It does have a bit of history. So this vehicle it went to Georgia to take part in the cleanup following the 2008 conflict with Russia. Well, basically when Russia bombed Georgia. So this was one of the vehicles, this was the first Land Rover in actually, in that organisation to help with the cleanup. And there were 5 of them in total. Later on it went to Georgia in 2019, I think it was 2019. Sorry, it went into Armenia in 2019. And then there was a conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia in 2020, of which this vehicle was kind of front and centre. And then it helped with the cleanup operation following that conflict. And I have lots of photos of it taking part in that. And then in September 2023, it took part in a mass exodus when 100,000 people basically exited a region within 3 days. So that's why the logos are painted over on this vehicle, because there was a lot of media coverage of that event. So, incredible history behind this vehicle. It's not just a Defender. It's been part of, people relied on this for their lives. So it is kind of special from that perspective. So there's bits there where some elements of it tell the story. So the one I just mentioned there is the logos being painted over. It looks awful, but they tell the story of the basically near instant requirement to exodus a lot of people at very short notice. And that's really what they kind of tell. So these are the kind of decisions I'm going to have to make. I'm kind of erring on the side of removing the paint and the logos just because they look awful. But I don't know. Anyway, I'm interested to know what everyone thinks down in the comments. Obviously, it's not your decision. You don't particularly care so much, but I'm just interested on people's perspective. This is not going to be my daily driver. I mean, I may use it, but I've got another vehicle for like practical stuff. This is like the good Defender that I want to invest in my time in and have it as like a good specimen, a good example. Yeah, I'll just kind of probably illustrate a few things that I'm thinking about, the kind of decisions that I'm thinking I'm going to have to make. So we do have modifications. I mean, the classic one being we've got this plating in here. So you can see the plating, and I've talked about this before. It's really annoying for your foot down there. The thing and we've got it in here, we've got it in the back as well. You know, the whole of the back is plated. The thing I'm probably most kind of worried about with that, it's the fact that if I wash, you know, the vehicle out, water gets in there, you've got steel and aluminium sat, you know, in a thin layer, and the water in there has not really got an escape route. It's not been designed to have an escape route. It's just going to corrode to hell. That's mostly what I'm worried about. So I think I'd probably take the front footwells out as much as I can, because footwells are a known problem for water. The rear, it's probably a lot of work, so I'm not going to necessarily do anything with that for the moment. But it does tell a story. It's obviously a very unique aspect to this vehicle, but it was put on in the last kind of 4 years of its life. So actually most of its life it didn't have that. So you're starting to think about, like, I tell you, the prime example of this is, you know, the Flying Scotsman Locomotive. There's endless debates about whether it should wear its original livery from when it was in the LMS, so the light green, or whether it should use its number and livery from when it was in British Rail for the latter part of its career, when it had the, you know, the smoke deflectors on. You'll never find a particular perfect answer or let everyone agree about what's the correct livery and specification for that engine, because both are correct. It had a different lives, and it's kind of a similar thing with this Defender. It had the time of Georgia and time of Armenia. It was kind of doing slightly different roles, so it had different specifications. I'm probably going to have to destroy it with an angle grinder to get it out, and that's why I'm a bit hesitant about the back. Anyway, there's a few other things in it. I mean, there's things like the roll cage. The roll cage was put in later, so it didn't have this for most of its life. It's put in later, and it's a bit rough and ready. I think it's a used one. It's been welded in certain places. So you can see on there, this has been welded in, which it seems to me like it's been cut out of another vehicle and put into this one. You can see some of the bolts are the bolts are not matching. These look really odd, these ones. It's kind of scuffed and rusty. If we look on this side, and this bar is not the same diameter as this bar, so I think this is just a generic bit of steel tube that's been put in, as opposed to the official roll cage material, and it's kind of tatty. So I do wonder about that, whether to take that out. That'll probably worth a restoration on that one, to take that out and do something with that. It still obviously needs quite a bit of a clean up, so I need to clean up all this. Basically, it's going mouldy down here. There's a lot of food been dropped in here from people sitting and eating in it. You can see down there it's all gone a bit furry. So I need to take this out and give it a good wash. I mean, the seats are the next thing really. Actually, I'll just talk about the radio because it's here. So this vehicle. This is the original cassette that the original radio and stereo that this vehicle would have come with, right? Cassette model in 2007. They were still putting cassettes in here. Now, because it's a fleet vehicle, fleets don't really like drivers, getting distracted with the radio and then crashing into people, crashing into stationary traffic and that kind of stuff. So this stuff would have been taken out, and then the kind of bin put in originally, in here, replace the stereo. But what happens is drivers and occupants of vehicles really like stereos. So every fleet vehicle I've ever been in and driven has had some kind of head unit bodged in to this area. This one's interesting because it's not been this is not the original bezel to hold this. This is one of these that's been cut down. It's been cut in at the back in there, and then this thing bodged in. One thing you can always guarantee: don't come between a driver and his music. So that's something I think I'm going to retrofit the original stereo, because I like that kind of look. This to me is just random. It doesn't really tell a story. It's not particularly. I'd rather have an original stereo, even though it doesn't have a CD player or it doesn't have MP3. But this to me is reminiscent of kind of back when I did use these vehicles and sticking a tape. We used to stick the tape converters in there when I was driving them in 2007 and 8. So the stereo is probably going to go. I've already made a decision on that. I've got the original stereo to go back in. You got little bits and pieces like this. I'm not entirely sure what this was for. This was for a Codan radio. These brackets have been bent up. So there used to be a radio that you would clip out and here, and there used to be a Codan massive area on the front. That'd be quite nice to get hold of one of those, even if it's broken, because it would have had that at some point, like an HF, big HF radio that NGOs use. But I don't have that, and they'd probably be quite hard to find, and I might have to import it from Australia. Brackets like this, I'm not entirely sure what that's for. There's probably something hung off here, but I don't know. So whether to keep that or not, I don't really know. Yeah, the seats. So these seats are buggered. They're completely knackered. They're not comfortable at all. The foam's, I don't know if that's original. The cover's not original. I'd have to get completely new bases. I think there's some collapsing of foam going on in here. They're quite spongy in the seats. They're a bit rusty. It's not that easy to adjust them. This one works okay, but the driver's one that I'm sat in really doesn't adjust that well. Let me take a look at this. It's all worn out. It'd be nice to bring these seats back to their former glory. And it is kind of spongy and uncomfortable in here, even though the sides are okay. Oh, that's a bit broken there, but they're not very comfortable at all. So I do have some very good condition seats, which in the short term, definitely I'm going to just put those in so the vehicle's actually usable. This middle seat's all right. Long term, I may refurbish these to keep them as original as possible. That's another decision I'm having to think about. It does have some quite nice features. There's like sticker over there, fleet sticker. It's got a fleet sticker here. Bits of history here. It's got some Russian words written here. Or just letters. I've googled this. I don't think it actually is a word. The rearview mirror was pretty damn wobbly. It was pretty loose, and I've replaced that already with something. This one, which I bought in Newbury. It's not quite as wobbly, but I just wanted to head off, any fare on the MOT. It's got the handle put up there, which is a great mod, actually. That's non-standard, but I think I'll leave that. That's quite cool. This door's going to be a bit of a problem because it's completely buggered on the inside. It does have damage on the outside, which, fair enough, you could repair that, I think, because it's steel, not aluminium. But that's completely knackered, which is a shame because it's not really repairable. I mean, you can weld it up, but it's just going to probably crack again. And the door lock, for some reason, the door lock and the keys don't match. So it's probably had another handle been put on from a different vehicle. So I'm not entirely sure. It'd be nice to keep this door because it'd be a big thing to replace. The quick answer is put in a new barrel with a separate key and just have separate keys. But basically, at the moment, I can't get in this side of the vehicle because you can't open that until this is open to reach around. It'd be nice to keep it because it is a particular part and it's got some battle scars on the outside and it is, did have the logos painted over or what have you. So there is, a bit of provenance with that door. And what else have we got going on? Well, I'll definitely keep the bed frame. I might take it out in the short term. I've got a seat here, but with the kids the way they are, the age they are, I can fit one in the front here. So we do have a 4-seater vehicle, essentially. And of course, when it comes to consumables, things like that, I'm not going to worry about replacing bushes, replacing bearings and seals and that kind of stuff. The brake calipers, the bleed screws are plugged up with mud at the moment, so I can't bleed the vehicle. So I think I need to take all the calipers off and just do all that. I'd like to preserve the calipers, keep the calipers, put stainless pistons in, refurbish them. I mean, it's more cost effective than buying calipers because they've got quite expensive these days. So that's, I think, what I think about the brakes. I'll try and preserve the brakes. We'll have to get new discs at some point. And then, of course, there's all the bits that came with it, like the roof rack and the snorkel and other bits and pieces that are currently off it, so that I've been able to get it into the tent, but I want to be able to put those back on in future. There's the rivets on the outside have got washers underneath. Do I replace those? I mean, we're getting into literally into rivet counter territory there. The rash, or the paint stripped off on some of the bodywork from being pressure washed a lot. Do I respray it or do I leave it? It's a bit of a nod to its fleet history, but it looks unsightly. Do I try and bring it back to making it as good as new? What I'd like to do is unbolt all the rear step and the bumperettes and stuff like that so that I can, maybe get it all painted. I think that would be probably worth doing. And then the bull bar on the front, the powder coating's kind of peeling off. So long term, do I get it blasted and re-powder coated? Probably might be a nice thing to do. There's a further question here about genuine versus pattern parts, in terms of if you're going to be true to a kind of a restoration, you really should be using genuine parts. So I'm collecting as many as I can whenever I see bargains. The clutch is going to have to be done, I think. There's things like master cylinder and slave cylinder. I've never done it. I've always just replaced those, but I might look into doing a seal replacement kit, assuming they're in good condition. And they should be, because when I tested the fluid, there wasn't much moisture in there. So I'll try and refurbish, basically, I think, as many things as I can. You know, universal joints, I'm not going to be sentimental about those, and any of the rest of the stuff. But I think if I'm going to replace bits, I'm going to try and find genuine, and I might, you know, be able to justify to myself the extra expense of the genuine parts, just because feels right for this vehicle, if I want to kind of bring it back to its, you know, former glory. There's things like the binnacle here. You know, this is all buggered up. All the tabs are snapped off except for the bottom one here. So I have actually been donated a new binnacle, you know, original from a Footwell Spec 300 TDI. So I feel like that's a good thing to replace. So yeah, lots of decisions to make on this vehicle. I'm going to be starting with the seats, just so that I've got a vehicle that's incredibly useful and it's not uncomfortable right from the outset. And the rest of the stuff I'm just going to have to tick along. I need to sort out the drivetrain noises there. What's going on? Is there a problem with the transfer box? Is it UJs? Clutch is a bit of a problem. You know, getting this thing into reverse where it doesn't have synchros is a massive pain when the engine's running. So that's a thing to deal with as well. But I guess it's, you know, whatever's going to happen, I want to keep it roadworthy. It's going to have to be a rolling kind of restoration. And as and when the garage gets built, that's when we'll probably tackle bigger things like replacing the clutch, disc, pressure plate, that kind of stuff. Yeah, but interested in your thoughts on what you would definitely change, what you would never change. Obviously, it's not your vehicle. You don't necessarily probably care as much as I do about what this vehicle represents or anything like that. But I definitely wanted to save this, because it would have just gone either to the scrapper or into the hands of someone who just would have used it as you know, a farm runabout, or just run it into the ground, something like that. And I definitely did not want one of these last 300 TDIs that has a very specific, interesting history, stories to tell. I did not want that one to go to, you know, I wanted to preserve it, at least bring it back to the UK, and I'll show it around a bit. I'll probably go to some of the shows this year with it. Yeah. So anyway, next videos will be me tackling this vehicle a bit more throughout the course of this summer. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts. Bye for now.